apologize about the last video. Had the headphones in stupidly. Let me go through this real quick. Once again, in the car review is not really in the car, but sorry I had to do this. This movie is called The Banker. This movie is directed by George Niceole. $11 million budget, came out in 2020 on Apple TV Plus. This is a real true life story about how two black men ran game on the real estate industry and tried to buy real estates in LA and in Texas in 1950. The United States. Screenplay by Nicolas, Levy, George Niceole, the director David Lee Smith, and story by, because it's based off of real people, by the director himself, David Louis Smith again, Stan Younger, Brad Caleb. So once again, Anthony Mackie stars in the show with Nia Long as his wife, Samuel Jackson, and Nicolas Holt. Now, there's some plot points here I want to go through real fast for it times out on me again. And number one is, in 1939, Mr. Bernard Garrett, which is his name, Anthony Mackie, was born in Willis, Texas, and he's very smart. He's a mathematical genius, and he wants to get into finance and real estate, and he is somehow in this first scene listening in on how white people make their money and manage their money. His dad tells him, "Oh boy, you better be worried about it, because you know it's 1939, niggas get lynched out here." But you know, he's like, "Dad, please, it's different out there in the world." He doesn't know. But still, plot point number two, he moves to LA. It's 1953. He's out of his small town. He's with his wife, Nia Long, at this time, and they are looking for places to stay. They don't have a place to stay. He is getting into real estate investing and property management. He gets into it with this white Irishman, who is the face value of his deals, because obviously a Negro can't make any deals out there. And number three, his bank loans, investments, brokering gets into trouble because he's a black man. He's found one day working at one of his tenants' properties that he owns, and an old white lady, as she would, says, "You kind of Negroes can't work here. I don't live next to you." She says, "Ma'am," he says, "Ma'am, a contractor can work here from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m., something like that." And he says, "Well, I'm not a contractor. I'm moving right in." And she complains to the cops. They come, harass him as usual. She finds out that he really is moving in, and she moves her old ass out, which you know how that goes. And number four, he meets this white kid named Matt, who's a real character, and he teaches this kid, "Look, we want to buy these banks, especially the bank building, the tallest building downtown LA in 1950s, and they want to have fair share in the market value." So they have to teach him how to work the number games, the percentages, the mortgage rates, the exchange rates, the property loan values, and all this stuff, played by Nicolas Holt, as I said, Matt. And they teach him all this within the span of 3 months, over days and days and hours of learning and tutelage. And number five, he buys a number of properties in LA along with Samuel Jackson. He buys about 17 properties. At the same time, they have to teach Nicolas Holt how to play a game of golf, because he has to fit in with the rich white folks at the country club that they're eventually going to get him to, so he can make these transaction loans. And number six, it's Matt gets into a little bit of trouble because of his lack of experience and his preconceived notions of hubris that he thinks he can run his bank when he clearly can't. And he gets into a little bit of financial banking loan trouble, because at this point, Bernard Garrett says, "You know, I want to leave LA. I want to go back to my hometown, Willis, Texas, and make change in Jim Crow South Texas," which is not going to go over well with white folks, because you got a Negro trying to own a business or his white folks' money, and that's going to be a lot of problems. And it is turning into a lot of problems. As they start progressing, they start stirring up trouble. They meet this other ungrateful white man named Florian, who works at the bank that he's trying to open, and he purposely tells on them to get them in trouble, to get them out his town, because he just can't believe Negroes can't be this smart. It just ain't possible. It's just not possible. And it is, because it's a true story. And when he goes down into the community, he gets in trouble with the FDIC, which is basically the federal treasury, who looks over and oversees banking loans and properties. They question him. They come down. They arrest him. He says, "Why are we getting arrested?" He says, "You know why. You can take the easy way or the hard way." They do it the hard way. They arrest him. They go to court. They go to court on trial. They basically hem Matt up. Matt is faced with 50 years if they don't say what he needs to say in court. Obviously, he doesn't do that. And then Anthony Mackie comes up, Bernard Garrett, I'm sorry. He says his testimony says, I believe in freedom and all that speech, and you know how it goes right there. It's a really good movie based off a true story. This is a really quick review. I'm sorry for the first video with having no audio, but this is a great movie to watch. It's 2 hours long, and I highly recommend it. Thank you.